Hi everyone! In today's tutorial we are going to make step by step an entirely out of EVA foam Lute Mask from Hazbin Hotel. I will use this piece as decoration, but you can easily modify it to fit the cosplay, so let's just dive into the tutorial now. I hope you like it, that you find it easy, and I wish you good luck if you try it out. Let's do it! Alright, the most important question before we begin. Momo, what about the patterns? You will find a link in the description box to my Ko-fi page where you can get them, and here I just wanted to show you how using a wig head, cling film, tape, I made the base patterns for the helmet, so you can see how they are like 100% homemade. I tried to work with symmetry, taking into account the horns, the features, and dividing it into sections that could be easy to work later on. After cutting all the pieces made out of tape, the next step was to transfer everything to paper. Here I have the left part and the right part, but you will receive the files in digital format if you decide to buy them, of course. To print it to scale, you can use a program like Adobe Acrobat. And in the printing tab it's important to select the poster option, so it will print everything on A4 pages that you only need to put together. As you can see, a little bit of tape on the back part is more than enough. The next step will be to take some scissors and cut. Here I already have like the pieces of the left and the right part, so we can now take the main material that we are going to work with. EVA foam. As I mentioned, everything is made entirely out of EVA foam. This is a 5mm thickness roll, and what I did was to cut a small piece and place all the patterns on top. So now just grab a pen and carefully trace around the patterns. Don't forget to mark the guide letters on the EVA foam and whether it fits the left or the right piece, and this will help us later on during the building part. To cut the EVA foam, all we need is a utility knife, but please be mindful and protect the work table. Alright, here we have everything cut out and we're ready to start assembling these pieces. What adhesive are we going to use? Well, many of you already know, but for this material there's nothing better than contact cement, but please, I do not use the hot glue gun, I really don't recommend it. The instructions are simple. Work in a well-ventilated area and apply a thin layer of adhesive to both surfaces you want to join. I began with the center of the mask. When the adhesive is no longer tacky to the touch, you can very carefully join the guides that we previously drew on the EVA foam. And have in mind that this adhesive doesn't allow for mistakes, so you must be very careful, but yeah. A bit more contact cement on the side pieces and carefully glue them. And now we can glue together the center of the helmet, together with what will be the front of the visor. Next, I prepared the side. I didn't work in a very specific order, but I knew that I wanted the last piece to be the one that crosses the helmet, like right in the middle. I glued the visor to the rest, and very importantly, I didn't finish gluing the back because somehow we need a method to easily and efficiently put it on. Now it's the next day, our helmet is dry, and the back part is ready for what will be the zipper. This is a short and cheap zipper in dark color, which will work amazing for us. And notice that I place it upside down and on the back side, very important. And yeah, we will use the same adhesive for this. Now we can open the zipper and apply the adhesive carefully, trying not to touch the metal teeth. and I try to glue it as close to the edge as possible so that the zipper is hidden. But yeah, that's it, that's all, ready. It opens and closes easily, so we can now put it on to check that it fits well. The next step we're going to make is completely optional, but obviously it helps to improve the final result. I'll be using this small rotatory tool that I was able to acquire here in Japan and a wood sanding head. With lots of patience, I'll gently sand the seams between the ABA foam, and this ensures that they are as flat as possible and eliminates any unintentional ridges that may have formed. Basically, it's just for that. I'm going to do this off camera and in a well-ventilated area, but after working for a while, here is how it looks. Everything is much smoother, and don't worry about the strange texture that you can see because we'll take care of that in a moment. Next, just to make sure everything was on the right track, I drew the features of the face with a marker. And you don't have to do this, but I wanted to make sure that I was going in the right direction. And now it's time to cover everything up with more EVA foam. Up until now, we've been using 5mm thick EVA foam for the base. However, for the step I'm about to show you, we need to find the super thin EVA foam, the one that is about 2mm thick. Let me explain. The idea is to cover the seams of the base completely so that they are not visible at all, and for that I'm going to use this sheet of thin EVA foam. I've applied the adhesive to both surfaces, and I'm just centering it as much as possible before I start to stick it to the surface. I'm going to apply heat because I want to, you don't have to do it, using a hairdryer just to mold it a little bit against the front part of the helmet so I can shape it and then continue with all the process. We can stretch a little bit the EVA foam to make sure that it stays flat as possible because there shouldn't be any wrinkles, and of course we can trim around. As you can see, I only covered the front part where the face is, and there's a slightly heart-shaped form, but just that. The reason is simple. We want to work first with the horns before covering everything, and I think that the front part of the helmet is slightly overlapping with the back part. That's maybe just me, but I want to do something like that. And here we have it. We've been able to perfectly hide all the seam lines to make it appear just like a single piece, and now what's left is to glue the flaps. What about the patterns for the horns? Well, just the week that I was recording this tutorial, I went back to work. I ran out of time to make the patterns, of course, so maybe I could have done it, but I really didn't have time. So I decided to support another cosmaker online, and I bought their patterns. You will have a link in the description box to their fantastic tutorial, and also to the patterns of their horns, which are just not one, but many types in the same pack. And I love how they work, and I think it's really worth taking a look. And of course, supporting artists, because in the end, this is not a competition. So I'm going to be using the ones called small triangular ram horns, and as I don't feel comfortable making a tutorial of their tutorial, I'm just going to leave you a quick step-by-step video to see how I work. As you can see, it's exactly the work that we already done assembling the base, marking, cutting, gluing, following the guides, so it's going to be very easy. And here we have them. Now we can finally take a pen and divide the horn according to the photos, in which you can see white stripes around the horns that are just kind of decoration, so yeah. After marking them, you'll see me create this relief with the rotatory tool, but now that I have the helmet assembled, and I can see it, if I had to repeat this thing, I don't know, it doesn't make such a big of a difference, so you can skip it. But the interesting part is that we can finally glue them to the helmet and just see how we are progressing. Next step, photos, pen, and let's draw the final features according to your preference basically. This will be very personal and it will depend on each person's skills and also the expression that you want to give it. Alright. Basically, everything you see me do next could be replaced with EVA foam though, but personally, I haven't found it here in Japan yet, and if many of you sometimes complain about having restricted access to conventional EVA foam, and if I'm working right now with foam that I had to buy from China, I don't know about this EVA foam though then. What you'll see me do is basically cover the remaining part of the helmet with another layer of EVA foam, just as an alternative to this foam clay. To do this, I'm creating patterns for the sections I want to divide it into, because doing it all at once is basically impossible. I make the patterns again with cling film and tape, and then I transfer them directly to the 2mm thick EVA foam. And yes, we'll glue it very carefully, making sure not to leave gaps between them, and considering that the front part must overlap the visor, and of course, let's not forget about the sides and the back part. After a lot of work, you'll have something like this, and as you may have already imagined, I also took the time to smooth out the edges of the seams with the Dremel. Finally, we can move forward with the face, but I need to mention something important. My helmet is not functional for a cosplay, it's just like a decorative piece, so I didn't think about adding ventilation to the EVA foam. I think that the smartest thing to do would be to cut out the eyes and place like a white mesh right behind them, but yeah, you do you. In the end, I personally opted for a very subtle to the thin EVA foam on the eyes that I glued with more contact cement. And for the lips, I bought air dry clay at the 100 yen store. It's very light. There are 10,000 brands, you don't need to worry about that. Just make sure it's super light. It will be as easy as use your hands and a flat surface to make sausages, and just use that as the pieces for the mouth, and you can glue them easily with a hot glue gun. Voila! Finally, we have finished with the mask. And now it comes the fun part, which is painting, but before painting, we need to prime. You know that I always offer you the same options. Vinyl latex. In this case, it's not super necessary because the piece doesn't need to be very flexible, or wet glue. Yes, there are other materials, but this is what I use as it's cheap, it's easy to use, and it's easy to find. With a brush, I will apply thin layers of this white glue to the helmet, and I will make sure that I let them dry completely before adding a new one. In total, I applied 3 layers, and I was quite satisfied. Don't rush, preparation is important. Now, after drying, you can see how the surface, in my case, has become super shiny, but depending on what you've used, it might be matte, but it's ready to paint. So let's do it. We need acrylic paints, and I don't recommend what I've been using, but that's the only thing I could find. And of course, brushes, different size brushes. Easy. It's time to put on some good music and relax while carefully painting all the nooks and crannies of the mask. And in my case, I decided to start with black paint for the horns. Next, I use a very light shade of neutral grey to paint like the biggest part of the helmet. And of course more black for the face, being very carefully not to touch the eyes and the mouth because these will be painted white next. In total, 2 coats. Waiting for each coat to dry before applying the second one was enough to finish with everything. And voila! Here we have it. I hope you like this tutorial, that you can put it into practice, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!